Hi, good evening, and welcome once again to 5 o'clock club here. I'm actually not from sunny southern coastal Delaware right now. I am actually from sunny Florida, and I'm currently in my truck on my way to an outdoor art show. But every Friday we are still going to come to you live with videos of you, members of the American Artist Professional League. So today we have another fellow artist from Delmarva, Lisa. Can't wait to talk with her. It's going to be a lot of fun. Always is a lot of fun. I love getting the chance to meet and talk with all of you, the members of the American Artist Professional League. It's my pleasure and my honor to be able to have you on as one of our guests to come and talk to all of us about your creative journey. So if you're interested, click the link in our bio, head to our website, send an email, and I will get back to you with a date and a time for when we can make this all happen. There is nothing better than being able to share your creative journey with your fellow artists, because you never know where someone's at. You may have a knowledge base that could help somebody else along their creative path. And what better thing to do than to help another fellow creative person? I think it's fantastic. And there's been so much great insight over the last couple of months now that we've been doing this, that there's just a wealth of information. I've learned a lot from so many of you. It's been my particular pleasure to be able to help facilitate this with you, the members of the American Artist Professional League. Like I said, today we're talking with Lisa. I can't wait to talk with her. And then another fellow Delmarva painter. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's so much fun just being able to talk to all of you. Then it's an extra special treat for somebody else who lives in the same part of the country where I'm at. Now, Delmarva is a big peninsula, right? Literally, Delmarva means Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. So it spans 3 states. So it's pretty big, but it's still really cool to be able to share all of this with you guys. So it's just a ton of fun. Can't wait to be able to talk with Lisa. So we're getting a little bit of an intro here. Just waiting for Lisa to come on here and say hi. While we're waiting for her to log on, and I'm seeing everybody waving and saying hi. Hi everybody. Again, my name is John Bandish. I am the social media director here with the American Artist Professional League. And again, every Thursday, 5 o'clock, whether I'm coming to you live from sunny southern Delaware or I'm coming to you from sunny Florida, wherever I'm going to come to you from, I'm going to come to you with you, the members of the American Artist Professional League. This whole interview series is really just geared towards you guys. It started off as an idea to introduce board members so that the rest of you all could get to know the board members, and it quickly spawned into, why don't we get everybody involved? You know, this is a fantastic thing. Let's all talk with one another and meet everybody. This is the whole point of social media. It's putting the social back into social media, right? And then one of the added benefits to this is forgetting the fact of there's a great camaraderie that comes with all of that. One of the best parts is sharing your creative journey with others, right? And like I said, you just never know what can happen once you put yourself out there and share what you've done. There's so many of you, really everybody, who's had this amazing creative journey that, albeit in some ways, is unique to you, and in other ways it's really similar to a lot of other people. It's the similarities and differences that just make it so interesting and just so great to share again with one another. And what better way to do that than on a quick little Q&A. These are about a half hour, so it's not like, you know, super long per se, but it's just a lot of fun. And so excited to get on here and talk with Lisa. Just waiting for her to send a request to want to be in the video. So we'll wait a few more minutes here. Hopefully everything is working. I know it can be a little bit of a tricky challenge sometimes to work with all of that, but I'm seeing everybody saying hi, saying logging on. Hi, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. We're just waiting for Lisa to come into here soon. She's got a great creative journey, excuse me, and her story is fantastic. I can't wait for you all to hear it. And I want to hear from you. We all want to hear from you, the members of the American Artist Professional League. This whole interview series is for you. It's for you to share your journey. It's for you to share it with everybody else. It's for you to offer perhaps any insight. We get a lot of messages from younger artists and older artists who are sort of in that jumping off point, if you will, right? Where they've gained so much insight to this of how to make a career. You know, should I try to do galleries? What about the outdoor art shows? What are some of the positives, some of the negatives of joining this group or that group, or this is what I'm interested in. And I get all these messages. We see them, tons and tons and tons of them, coming into our social medias and our emails. And again, this is just so great to be able to have you, the members of the American Artist Professional League, share your invaluable insights and stories with your creative journeys. And in general, it just feels pretty good. So why not? So again, click the link in our bio, head to aaplinc.org. You can just click the link right there in our bio. It'll take you right there. You're on your phone already. You can sign up. It's free. We'll send you all the questions. There's nothing to stump you. This is just asking about your journey. There's lots of fun questions. If you've watched a few of these interviews, you know that we're asking kind of the same questions, but it's organic. This is just supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be for you, to put your journey out there and to just be out there, and why not? So again, we're waiting for Lisa to sign on. We'll give it a few more minutes. Sometimes it happens, schedules change. You don't get a chance to say, hey, this isn't going on, whatever's happening. But again, every Thursday, we're going to do this. We're going to come with you, for you, the members of the American Artist Professional League. I swear I can talk. There she is. I see her waving in. And I love Lisa's Instagram handle name, Salty Rose Renderings. What a cool name that is. It's such a fun name to have for your social media name. So we're just waiting for her to send a request to be in the video. Can't wait to talk with her. So while we're waiting, just waiting for all the technology and things to happen, none of us are tech savvy, although maybe there's some of you that are tech savvy. If you are and you want to get involved, send us a message and we can try to get you involved in some other aspects of this. We want to start maybe a longer form interview series, something that maybe not weekly, maybe it's a little bit more special and we do it once or twice a month type thing. We're trying to think through some of those types of ideas to give more for you, give back to you guys. You guys do so much for the American Artist Professional League. We've been going on for almost 100 years. That's crazy to think that an organization is still going strong right now for all these years. It's a fantastic thing. So again, we're just waiting for you, Lisa, just to send a request, hit that little icon at the bottom, come on in and join. Can't wait to talk with you. Another Delmarva artist. Can't wait to get on here and have a talk with you guys. So, and again, if you're interested, click that link in our bio. Sign up today. It's free. Who doesn't like anything for free? Share your journey with everybody else. It's fantastic. You never know what kind of insights you might be able to offer for somebody else, or what somebody else may be able to offer for you. It's certainly possible, right? So again, every Thursday, 5 o'clock, we're going to come to you live. Just waiting for Lisa there to come on in anytime. Just waiting. It's all just a technologically based thing. Anyways, just going to wait a couple of seconds longer here, try to get this going on here. So I'll just tell you that I'm not coming to you from sunny southern coastal Delaware today. I'm coming to you from sunny Florida. I am on my way to the 73rd annual Beaux Arts Festival happening on the University of Miami campus. And there she is. I see Lisa now. To you from Florida. I'm pulled over in my truck. I'm looking at palm trees, which is a great thing. got that beautiful, sunny southern skies in front of me. And there she is. Hey, Lisa.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Uh, can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay, great. I guess I got my wires crossed. I was thinking that you were going to send me an email and I didn't get one. So then I was kind of like thinking maybe we weren't on for tonight.
Well, I apologize
Sorry.
for that. I thought the emails got sent out. It's been a whirlwind couple of days for me just packing and getting ready to drive down here to Florida. So I apologize if it didn't get
It's
sent. I
okay.
thought it clicked send, so we'll see.
I'm
But we're here.
so excited for you.
Oh, this is a blast. I can't wait to get into our conversation here. So let's just start right off the bat and introduce yourselves to everybody tuned in out there watching. Tell everyone your name and a little bit about your background as an artist.
My name is Lisa Kozel Mangione, and I grew up with a mom who was an amazing commercial artist for Sears back in the day, when Sears were the ads were hand drawn every week, and so it was her job to draw all of the ads for the clothing that would be, in that week's ad. And so I grew up, just being in that art environment with her. My great grandfather was also a lithographer for the U.S. Mint, and he also worked for Rand McNally. He was a map drawer, also a
Wow.
designer. And so my mom, it was funny. My mom used to tell stories when she would go and visit him, and she would sit on his lap and he would draw like a $5 bill with like Mickey Mouse in the center, and then he'd be like, "Oh, you can't go out with this." But yeah, so I come from a very I don't know, just artistic family all the way around. Bunch of woodworkers, musicians, and so it's kind of just in my veins. Um, so I'm not formally trained, although at this point I study under Lee Alban, which a lot of people have heard of. He's a nationally known and worldly known uh, artist, and he I started with him about 2.5 years ago, I guess. And before that, I had only done acrylics, and um, I dabbled in colored pencils, did some watercolor, alcohol inks, but I didn't get into oils because I still work full time, and I thought, well, it's just going to take forever for my layers to dry, and just didn't kind of want to get into that, and felt like, you know, the Holy Spirit kind of pushed me into checking with him and seeing if he had any openings on his weekend class, which is what I needed. And he had one opening. So I really felt like that was kind of, what I should do. And he taught me how to mix my own oil paints. And depending on how thick your layers are, of course, it pretty much dries within a few days, which is amazing. So I love it now. It's my favorite.
Switch over to the dark
I
side.
did. And it's so much easier. Like, I can't believe how much easier it seems like to me than a lot of the other mediums I've used.
You know, I will say that to people left and right. I have my sketchbook here in the truck with me for the show because I like being able to show people some of the process. I think it's an interesting insight for a prospective client to be able to say like, oh, this is how you go about, thinking about a composition or color relationships. And usually it's gouache or watercolor, something fast.
Hmm.
And I say, and the people have asked me from time to time, why don't you work larger in those series? And it's like, because it's too hard. Oil is so much
It
easier.
is. It really is.
Right.
For sure.
So I totally agree with you on that one. So you have an interesting story again, because so many people that come onto these interview series talk about formal education. They went to art school or they went to some kind of an academic training. You have, I think, maybe something, dare I say, better. I strongly believe there is a creative gene right? I'm not saying that it's not unique to just one or two or a small group of people, but I think that when you have that creativity around you from a very early age, and you talk about whether they're woodworkers or cartographers or musicians, whatever the case may be, there's plenty of examples that I can cite of people who, when they're surrounded by that, go into the arts themselves, whatever type of art that they're doing. You happen to be a painter. We're talking about oil painting right now, but they come out with that, and it's almost like you don't even need that formal training because you've got that kind of a background. Is that something that you feel like possibly could be the case for you? You know, you've got just that natural ability and an inkling because you've been around it for your whole life.
I think there's something to be said for that, sure. I think if you there's only so much you can learn. I wasn't fortunate enough to go to art school. I wish that I had been able to. Because I do think that there's some baseline things of drawing and stretching canvas and things that you don't necessarily always get when you're learning from another person. But um, I think there's pros and cons. I really do. I really do. I mean, gosh, education, you can never not think that's a great thing, right?
Oh,
Um,
fantastic. Yeah, sure. But now I would argue that I've learned just as much outside of art school than I did while I was in art school. In fact, in some ways, art school, in my opinion, reteaches you how to draw from a different perspective than when you grow up. But then I almost felt like I had to relearn how to be in the world outside of the art school world. So
oh,
it's
wow.
it's kind of like a mixed bag worth of experiences, which is why I think it's so great for this interview series. Here you are, somebody who has so far a very unique background with your creative journey. You're not that other people haven't had creative influences in their lives, parents, things like that. We've talked with Fang Sullivan. She was one in particular, but she also went to art school. Here you are saying, "Well, I didn't go to art school. I have this full time job. I have this other life, and now I want to put art in the middle of it." Right? Talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced within that. And I see the eye roll, so I'm sure there's several. But talk a little bit about that if you don't mind sharing some of those insights again for maybe some of these other people that are out there that are like you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It is tough. You know, I think that I always try to look at the glass half full, especially at this point in my life. And I'm very blessed to have the job that I have. And I'm not, I don't have to worry about the starving artist category. Um, but on the flip side, it's frustrating because I'm a morning person, and so I'm usually painting in the morning. I know you're a night guy,
I don't
but
sleep person.
um, but yeah. So I am very creative in the morning, and so but I'm getting ready for work, and then by the time I get home from work, I'm kind of tired, and so it's hard to find that creative. And people who are not creative don't understand that it is not one of those things like a faucet that you just turn it on and off, you know.
Wouldn't that
Um,
be nice?
but I do think that you have to be disciplined. And so, what I mean by that is if you are not creative in the morning, then in the evening, then you've got to be doing your social media. You've got to be getting ready for a show. You have to be framing. You have to be doing things that are not the creative side necessarily, but you're still pushing along what needs to be done for your business.
I couldn't agree more to that. And then there's something to be said about squeezing in 5 minutes here, 15 minutes here, whatever the case may be. My wife usually tunes in and is watching this. She hasn't tuned in yet, but she'll watch this on repeat. So I'm going to give a shout out to her. And she's somebody who's helped me with that. As somebody that I'm not naturally an organized person, I'm sort of running by the seat of my pants and flying through chaos, that kind of a thing. But being able to knuckle down for 15 minutes and upload some images to your website, even that,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is a discipline and it is organizational. And so I'm very blessed because I happen to be left and right brained. So there's not everybody is blessed with that, but because I am, I'm constantly trying to make the best of my time.
Well, and again, there's something to be said about there. So if you're out there and you're watching right now, again, I'm seeing everybody logging in, saying hi, commenting, and waving. Thank you all again for always for tuning in every Thursday at 5 o'clock. If you're out there and you're watching this either live or you're watching this perhaps on repeat, finding that discipline, as you're saying, I think is maybe the most important thing, maybe the linchpin even for a creative journey, right? Because it's easy to say, I just want to be in the studio and draw or paint or sculpt or whatever the case may be. It is an entirely more difficult thing to be able to squeeze in a full-time job, a part-time job, being raising your children, just existing in your house and having the general things around the house to do, right? There's all having a family life, having anything, having just any kind of a life. There's a lot of discipline that gets involved in that, and that's not something that is talked about very often. So I appreciate that you're bringing that up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that it's funny because it's hard to, and I'm going to sound really terrible right now, but sometimes, I have a lot of full-time artist friends. And sometimes I'm like, darn it, I wish I could be that. But then, like I said, you need to try to think about the glass half full, and that I am blessed enough that I don't have to, if I need art supplies, I don't have to worry about that. I can order what I need, and that's not always the case for everyone. So,
Well, there's definitely a balance to having all of these things, right? For me, having the time was something that I personally looked at and saying, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to do this,
yeah,
and now I've got to figure it out. But then it's also lucky enough to being having a support system that allows you the opportunity to make that leap, right? And you're kind of talking about having the discipline. If I didn't have the there's a there's an old phrase, right? For every great man, there is a woman behind him rolling her eyes at him, right? And my wife is that for me. So sometimes you have that, and other people, maybe you're on your own and you don't have that, and you have no choice but to say, listen, I have to be able to pay my rent or pay my mortgage. Like I have to do this. So you need that discipline to say, okay, I'm a night person, so I'm going to go to work. I'm going to come home, and I'm going to get to work before I do anything else. Maybe that's what it takes. It's almost like somebody that wants to go work out at the gym, and we can all say we're too tired, right?
yeah,
I've heard a phrase before saying you're not tired, you're not motivated. And then there's times where you're like, no, you actually really are tired. You haven't slept in 2 days. You need to get some sleep there. So talk a little bit about in your creative journey here. You say you studied with Lee. Any other type of learnings that you have to get you onto this path? How did you get on the path of realism?
So that was actually my mom. My mom was a realist painter, and she really instilled a love of all of the masters and realism in general. And so I've always strived for that. I think though over the years, I just have watched a lot of YouTubes, and I've read different books, and I just I don't know how to describe it, but I see differently now. I just I see my subjects differently now. I see my shadows more. I see my highlights more. I see my I don't know. I just see differently. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. That's a phrase that I've heard many times out on these interview series as well, right? So now an interesting kind of question that's really kind of unique to you that sort of dovetails into a question that I ask pretty much everybody on the series is if you had an opportunity, say it's a perfect world, right? You could go study anywhere with anyone. Do you have any place like that? Would it be like the Academy in Florence? Like, is there some place where you're like, you know what, I would love to be there?
Gosh, I couldn't even answer that honestly. I haven't done enough I haven't done enough research to be able to answer that, you know. But I absolutely would love to go to Italy. I haven't been there. I would love to go see the Sistine Chapel because I love Michelangelo and I mean, his work was just breathtaking. I know you studied there,
I
so you got
did.
to see it in person.
I did, and I will tell you that when you go there and you see it, one, it's a spectacle. There's this big security guard who stands there, and every so often, I think it's about every 10 minutes, loudly claps his hands, and then there's an announcement that comes on in, I think it's 5 or 6 different languages, that says you can't take flash photography, you can't do this, you can't do that. When you look up at the ceiling, and like, so the whole room is painted, like all the walls, everything, the marble floors. It's an incredible space. When you look up at the ceiling, you see it. One of the first things that you say to yourself is, "Oh my God! Like, look at how amazing that is." And if you know about him and you know about Michelangelo, you know that he did not want to do it. So you think, how did you do this so well and you hated doing it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Well, and I think, I mean, he physically had so many ailments afterward because it took him so long to do it. Was it like 11 years? Am I right?
Yeah,
Was it 11 years?
it's an
Um,
incredible amount of time to be that far up and sort of, he wasn't always laying flat on his back, but he was just in that awkward position of looking
yeah,
up, and that's
yeah,
incredible.
for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't, I would love to be able to go over and just jot around Italy and learn, you know, see things. I think that you learn so much just from even going to museums, looking at other people's work, looking, you know, seeing things in person is so different. To see those brush strokes and to see,
Oh yeah.
you know,
Well, so
yeah,
this stuff tails that into a question where, if you could talk with any artist throughout all of art history, forget language barriers, just assume that you can speak the same language as him or her. Is there somebody that you can point towards that you would say, I would just love to buy you dinner and just love to listen to you talk about art and whatever it is? Do you have anybody in like that sticks out to you? You're talking about Michelangelo and Italians. Do you have anybody else that like maybe sticks out as like, man, I want to talk to them?
I would totally want to talk to Da Vinci. And I know everybody probably says that, but that man was a genius. I mean, he really was. To not only be an artist, but all of the different inventions he had, and I, I think that he would be so interesting. Um, I also have followed, or not followed, but um, I also love Mucha, Alphonse
Oh,
Mucha.
yeah.
I think he would be cool to talk to because I just think that his work was at the time very revolutionary. It was different. It was something new, you know, and I think that would be kind of cool to talk to him too.
Yeah, they're great. They're great answers to that question, and you really can't go wrong with either one of them. And yeah, Da Vinci is somebody that people talk about a lot, but for good reason. You know, if you're ever lucky enough to see one of his works in person, which there's not that many that we know for sure attributed to him, but when you see them, boy, do they ever stand out from a crowd. They're just that good. There's just no other way to say it. They're just that good.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
my fingers are crossed, hoping for you to be able to get over there and just even if you just toured, let alone had a chance to observe and study. You're right. There's just so much that's over there, and that really does speak to me. In my opinion, that really does speak to me about one of the downsides of finding yourself always in a classroom or a studio setting, where you do miss out on some of those things. You know, in art school, one thing that we did was copy the Zorn palette, right? So Anders Zorn was the Swedish painter. Everybody in art school learns about his palette. It's a very limited palette, but he was a master at that particular palette, hence why it's got his name. And you'd have to make a painting in his using his color palette. And I'm not saying that wasn't a good exercise. It was. It taught me a lot, but it got me thinking that I'd actually never seen a Zorn painting in real life. I was using a photograph, and painting it from a photograph is an extreme challenge. You have to really know how to use the photograph as a tool, and that's a whole other conversation we can get into at another point. right? But the point was to really what you're saying, which is just getting out there and seeing the actual painting, seeing the actual world that that painting was supposed to be created from. It's that there's no substitute to that.
It's the feels. You know, if you're, I don't know how else to describe it, but that's what I would say. The feel of the landscape, or the feel of the room, or the nature, or the lighting, or all of that.
And you're talking about fields and you're talking about nature. Talk a little bit about how that has impacted your work.
Oh wow! So I grew up, besides with my mom. My dad was, he was a woodworker too, and we used to go camping. I grew up camping down on the eastern shore of Virginia, and we would go every year for 3 weeks in the summertime. And so we would go soft crabbing, we would go fishing and crabbing, and searching for seashells. That's why the name of my business is Salty Rose Renderings. I kind of, just grew up being at the seashore, and that's what I truly love, and that's where I feel like I'm home. But I really enjoy the beach. I know you do too.
Why I moved.
uh,
So to
yeah.
give people a little bit of an insight, Lisa just referenced here Eastern Shore. Now that's a Delmarva phrase. You won't hear that really anywhere else, right? And that's because if you're on the peninsula, there is an Eastern Shore and a Western Shore. You've got the Eastern Shore that's on the Atlantic, and the Western Shore is on the Chesapeake, right? Each one of them has a very different flavor and a feel. Although somewhat similar in some ways, I think that they're very different, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just saying that there's different, right? So for all of you people that maybe not understanding what she said when she said Eastern Shore, that's what that means, right? So that's one, right? And two, you're absolutely right. Anywhere along the Eastern Shore, whether you're in Delaware, Maryland, or Virginia, it's just amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and for those people that aren't familiar with the Chesapeake Bay, I mean, it's the largest bay in the United States, and it's got so much history with it. Also, John Smith came over, and he landed in there, and I'm sure that I know a lot of people don't understand why we eat crabs, but we do. But they're huge. They were huge at that time. I mean, they were probably a foot across, which now you might find them 8 inches. But they have these big claws that would probably hurt you very badly.
I'm sure, yeah, but I'm sure for all the people that eat crabs, they would have loved to have had a couple of those
Oh,
crab legs.
yeah,
Definitely
talk
sure.
more than jumbos.
That's a lot of money too if you go out and get one of those at one of the
Yeah,
restaurants. You know,
oh, for
you're
sure.
right for saying that there's a ton of history for that. If people ever found their way to Salisbury, which is sort of like the biggest city, arguably on the peninsula, or at least further down the peninsula, there's a zoo there that has a fantastic map of showing where John Smith's travels were along the peninsula. And so there's a whole history going all the way back into the 1600s of Europeans, at least, forgetting all the Native American people that had been there for centuries before. But from a colonial perspective, there's a huge history all along the peninsula like that, especially along the Chesapeake for one. So there's a whole lot of history down there with us. So if you're ever thinking about coming and having a beach vacation, you might want to think about coming to the Eastern Shore or the Western Shore as well. You may want to think about the Chesapeake too. There's a lot of fun on that side as well.
There is, and so I used to go camping with my family, and I just love the beach. But my dad used to take us fishing and soft crabbing. I don't know if you've been soft crabbing, John.
Mm-hmm.
You have, with the nets when you push them through the water, and then you have to
I'm
chase the
terrible at
crab.
it. I show that I'm a Philly boy when I've tried to do that. I'm not very good. I
Oh, it's
admit.
so much fun! It's so much fun.
Definitely a lot of fun. I can't argue that. But
Yeah.
no, so it's interesting that you talk about that because for me, nature was a huge influence. Now I didn't quite put two and two together until a little bit later on in my own creative journey. But once I realized that, it wasn't very long until I started saying things like, I need to move there. I need to be immersed in that. I need to be able to like be there and enjoy it. You know, one thing about being on the Eastern Shore that people that have never been possibly don't know, you can fish all night long. As long as you have a line cast, you can stay on the beach all night long
Nice.
and camp out on the beach. In Maryland, at least, I'm pretty sure Virginia as well. I don't think you can in well, I know the off season you can in Delaware, but I'm not positive during season. But you can do that as long as you have a line cast and you are actively fishing. You can stay on the beach all night long. And
Wow.
down there, there's no lights, right? So you are definitely living, kind of off grid in a way. It's just a fantastic feeling to be out in nature like that. You can have a bonfire on the beach. It's just a fantastic thing. So, from that perspective, I think it's a fair question to ask you. Is it something that in a perfect world you could say, you know what? I'm going to have this big old studio. I'm going to be able to walk right out onto the beach, and there's my muse right there.
Absolutely. I mean, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would definitely be doing that. I probably would. We have relatives that live on Anna Maria Island down in Florida on the Gulf Coast, and I would absolutely buy a nice big house down there. Because the water's just gorgeous. I mean, I appreciate and love my roots in the brackish water up here, but I would totally love to have a place on the Gulf where the water is just so gorgeous, and so I love being down there too.
No, I couldn't argue that. I want to be a snowbird that goes to Florida for the winters and comes back north for the summers. I have no problem with that at all. So, all right. So, we're talking about all these. We're talking about some artists and film coach. We're talking about nature and how that has been a huge impact on you from all your fond memories of childhood. This is kind of again another unique question to you because it's something that I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb and say I'm going to think it's true, or at least there's a sliver of it. Do you find that in some ways your work is influenced by your memories of those beach vacations, of those times being with your family, being near the water? Is that something that you feel like you're kind of doing in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that not only is it memories, but when you're immersed in that situation and that in those environments, you get to know things. You know how the grasses, kind of move in the feel of the salt, at the salt air as it's blowing, and you know the heat of the day, and um, you know how the sun reflects on the water, because you're there, you've been there so much and you've experienced it so much. I think that uh, absolutely, I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've seen in your work, and I really surmised that, and then I was like, well, I could be wrong, and it wouldn't be the first time I was wrong, but I really thought that could be that because from another ocean painter, I mean that's definitely something that's on the back of my mind a lot. Now, some work doesn't necessarily reflect it per se overtly, but it's always on the back of my mind here as well. So I kind of thought that from seeing your work. And again, so people that are out there that are tuning in, thank you again, everybody, for always tuning in every Thursday, 5 o'clock. I'm going to come to you. It's normally from sunny southern coastal Delaware. Today is from sunny Florida. We're going to come to you live no matter what and have this interview series for you, the members of the American Artist Professional. Like I see everybody logging on. I have a friend of mine, Kate, who I'm going to see down in Miami tomorrow. She's saying, love the car show because I'm sitting here with all my work in the back of the truck. Then it happens, hey, this that's life. Where you're an artist, you're doing your thing, right? But talking back to you here and talking back to that influence of nature and memories in your work, one question that I haven't asked people in a little bit, but I've asked a couple of times is, have you ever created a piece that was just really powerful to you, and no matter how much somebody wanted to buy it, no matter what price tag, you could put some astronomically crazy number on it, you're saying, nope, this is never going to leave. Like, I need this. I want this to be in my possession. It's mine.
It's funny because I've created two pieces in the last 4 months, 5 months. One is a coconut piece, and I this is my favorite, but I did ship it down, even though it like took a little piece of my heart. I shipped it down to Venice, where I'm in a gallery down there, and I actually asked asked the owner, I gave him a choice of my two favorites that I had. And he was like, no, I want the coconut piece. And I was like, oh. But of course I shipped it anyway. But then the other one I still have here, and I really enjoy it. And the reason why the coconut piece, really, I just loved the composition of it. But the other piece that I still have here, it's called By His Light. And the story behind that was I was down on the island in Anna Maria, and it was the last day, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to go home. I just want to stay here. And I said to my husband, I was like, I'm just going to take one last walk on the beach. And so I went out to the beach, and the storm was coming in, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. I was just kind of wanted to be out in the salt air for one more time before we went to the airport. And so I start walking along, and I'm taking pictures of the surf because I wanted to have some reference photos and stuff like that. And unbeknownst to me, above my head is this storm coming in. And so one side was like these white puffy clouds, and then this hard line of these dark bluish gray clouds coming in. And so I just, I wasn't paying attention. Like I said, I was just going along. My husband calls me, and he's like, hey, it's pouring here. Do you want me to come get you? And I'm like, it's not pouring where I am. I'm fine. So I get off the phone, and I'm continuing my walk, and not 10 minutes later, the skies just opened up, started pouring on me. And I'm laughing, I'm just like, because it was hot, and I was just, it was refreshing to me. But then I got back over to the street area, and it was flooded. I mean, like rivers of water. And I was like, well, I can't do anything about it. So I just ran through the water, and all these cars had stopped for me because there was nowhere to go. But but yeah, that's why it's another one of my favorite pieces, because I don't know, I really felt like, and I give all the glory to God. I'm very, faith filled, and I felt like that particular painting was just like good versus evil kind of thing. You know what I mean? You got the white clouds and the dark clouds, and I just really love it.
Well, there's definitely something to be said about that, especially finding the divine with art. There's a whole conversation that we could have about that, and that'll definitely be for another time in a longer format. We're going to try to get. I was plugging it earlier in the live cast. I want to try to do like a longer form conversations. I've noticed that with Instagram, people tune in for about 30 minutes or so, and then kind of just that's it. Our
Yeah,
attention spans are like goldfish these days, right? So we're kind of coming up to about that time right now anyway. So this is probably a good time because boy, we could talk for like 30 more minutes just about that, art and the divine together and what that means and how that revolves around you and your creative journey. And I guess we're just going to keep that for part two in a longer format because that's a whole big fun conversation that I can't wait to have. So talk to people about where else they can see your work. You said that you're in a gallery in Venice. That's Venice, Florida. Where else can people see their work? You're here on Instagram. I've already plugged your awesome Instagram name, which is one of my favorites, by the way. Where else can people see more of your work at? Are you at any shows coming up right now?
I actually am. There's one at the Columbia Arts Center here in Maryland, and that's in February. It's Into the Blue, and which really fits what I do. I'm also here at a local gallery, Hartford Artists Association, and then Number 33 Gallery of Arts, which is in Venice, Florida. So they can also contact me at my website, saltyroserenderings.com.
All the links are here on Instagram. You can click right from our Apple page or find Salty Rose Renderings right here through our friends list, and then click, 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 and find everything you're out there listening. Find out more about Lisa, see more of her work. Are you open for commissions right now too? There we go.
Absolutely.
So you can, if you're interested in a possible commission, taking maybe one of your fun Florida stories and putting it into a painting, then it's just as powerful and meaningful for you for having one of Lisa's amazing paintings. Lisa, thank you so much for coming and talking tonight. Again, I can't wait for part two. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you again for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see your pictures. Like
Um,
I want to see how your shows go.
this is going to be a lot of fun. The outdoor shows are a lot of work to set up
They
for a few
are.
days. They're a ton of fun. Can't wait to get there. I'll have pictures posted on my Instagram page, and I'll see everybody then. And we'll see everybody next Thursday, 5 o'clock. We've got Karen Burns, who was logged on here watching and said hello, waved in the comments. We'll have Karen next week, and then we're already in February at that point. Who would have thought that fast?
Yeah, yeah. Well, safe travels.
Thank
Thanks again.
you very much, and we'll see everybody later.
Take
Bye bye.
care.